So most business owners, every time that a month goes by and they think about their business, they either feel that they won or they feel that they lost.
And a special thank you to our sponsor for this episode, Oswego Private Wealth Management. Welcome to another $4 million strategy, the best 4 minutes in business for practical strategy and tips you could apply to your business today. We're very excited to have Sean Healy with us. He is the CEO of Accounted For. Our discussion today is how do you compare your actual results to your budget? Sean, what are some best recommendations that our listeners should apply to today?
There's one big tool that I use when comparing actuals to budget. But before we get into that, I want you to think of your business as a game. So most business owners, every time that a month goes by and they think about their business, they either feel that they won or they feel that they lost. Now, if you ask most business owners, regardless, they probably will tell you that they also felt like they were on fire during the whole game and the whole field was on fire and yada, yada. I digress. One of the hard parts, though, is that when I say that they feel like they won or they feel like they lost, truthfully, it's just a feeling. One of the hard parts is it's really hard to understand whether you won or lost. So what the budget comes in is a budget or a forecast, which you'll hear me use those interchangeably. There are different meanings to them, but a lot of business owners will use them interchangeably. The budget is just the score to beat. So whenever you're comparing, you want to try to figure out what that score is, and you want to be able to use that to think proactively. Now, one of the best practices that we tend to use, and it's a tool, is a concept called a financial after-action review. All right. So when reviewing this information, you want to use an after-action review. It is an extremely powerful tool, and it's a very structured conversation that highly performing teams tend to use. So teams like NASA, the Army, Navy, Air Force, they use after action reviews pretty much every time they go and do a drill and pretty much anytime they go and do anything. What the whole idea behind that after action review is, it's a structured conversation that allows you to create an environment that helps you think proactively, but also gives you the ability to start documenting your wins and your losses. In a perfect world, you can start to learn from them. So an after-action review goes something like this. What did we expect was going to happen? What actually happened? What went well and why? What did not go well and why? And what did we learn from it? If all of a sudden I have my monthly P&L and I have my monthly budget, and yes, Carl, we have to do a review every single month. If all of a sudden I'm taking a look at both and I turn around, I look at my budget and I go, okay, what was supposed to happen this month? I go down the list. Now, I always recommend go with a collapsed P&L. You don't want to get too much in the weeds to start, but I take a look and I go, what was supposed to happen? Then I take a look at my actuals and I say, okay, what actually happened? By just going through this process, you're going to see certain trends, certain things that are just off. And you want to ask yourself why. Maybe my labor was real low and it's like, oh, well, obviously we had vacations. A lot of people took off. A lot of people had PTO. I want to take that and I want to put that kind of in a parking lot in my head. Then I take a look and I go, okay, what went well? Now, when I take a look at what went well, I want to see if there are different successes. Maybe our sales increased. Maybe it was one sales rep did a really good job. I want to put that in the back of my mind and maybe try to figure out why that actually occurred. Maybe it was that new sales script that we gave to them. Then I want to go, what didn't go well? Maybe meals and entertainment just skyrocketed like it does every single month. Maybe it's just because I have a little bit of a Starbucks addiction. Well, now I have to look at that and say, hey, is that hurting me? Is that continuously falling out of budget? And then I take all that information and I ask myself, what could I learn from this? What could I apply differently? Maybe it's sharing Johnny's script with everybody else in the company. Maybe it's putting a little bit of a limit on somebody's credit card. Or maybe next year when we're budgeting, it's putting things into place like PTO, because it tends to happen every August and July. The goal is to keep taking that information and keep applying it to get your projections better and better and eventually get your company better and better.
Sean, excellent description and story behind why you should do in comparing your actual to budget. Thank you so much for being on $4 million Strategies.
Thank you, Carl.
And to everyone else who's listening, the reason why we get great guests with their content is because of you subscribing, and we also encourage you to recommend to others the show. Thank you so much for your support.